All right. So thanks for joining today. What you're looking at is today's agenda. The first thing that we'll go through is creating a client or lead company within the CRM. I'll show you a couple of functions and the other aspects that are available to you within there. The next is we'll create an opportunity. We'll do this using the quick add function. I'll show you the fields in there, a couple of things that I think are important when creating an opportunity. And then we will also take a look at the opportunity information page and the fields that are within there. And then the last two things we'll do are creating an RFQ and then tracking design time and files. So today's focus will really be on the opportunity stage within Kinetic, and we will cover other portions of the application in subsequent training, so please stay tuned for those. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump into the application. And as I've mentioned, please feel free to come off mute whenever you have a question. So the tab that I'm on right now is the CRM tab. When you first log into the application, your default page is typically going to be the projects page. So once you get into the application, go over here to the CRM tab. And within here, you can see all of the different companies that you have set up within Kinetic. So what we're going to do first is we are going to create a new client, and we're going to do this kind of the old-fashioned way. And by that, I mean we're going to use this new button here. Just before I click on that, I do just want to touch on the different tabs that we have available here. Right here, we've got all leads. So this is going to be all companies that you have in the CRM. My leads are going to be the ones that are marked as being identified by yourself. So whenever you create one, that will show up there. Active leads and clients, these are differentiated by active leads means there are only opportunities associated with it. Clients mean there's at least one opportunity that has been converted to a project. And then retired leads are any companies that are flagged as retired. So I'll go ahead and click this new button. So this is going to be the information page for our company. And the first thing that I want to point out is there's really only two required fields in order to get a company set up, and that's going to be the company name. So we'll call this one Coors Brewing. And then the other one here is the industry. In this case, because we're just going to call this one corporate for it. And this identified by, as I had mentioned for that My Leads tab, is automatically going to be populated to who created it. So that's me, John Lamb here. And you can also change that if you need to. So I'm just going to review the fields here. I think most of this is pretty straightforward and what you would expect. So you've got a space for the website, the street address, city, state, zip code, all of that. This is intended to be the headquarters address for your company. We know that your projects for any given company may vary depending on what they are. So if you have a bank and there's multiple different branches that you're working on, this is intended to be the headquarters address and most likely where you'll be sending the bill to. For each opportunity, you'll be able to change the address there as needed for the specific opportunity for where the work is being done. We also have space for your competition, competition for this company, that is, as well as any notes. And then over here on the right side, got space for the phone number, fax, annual revenue, and we included these just because they're are things that you may want to track just about the nature of this company. And I mentioned that if you need to retire a prospect, you can use this checkbox to flag it to retire if you need to. And then this client, this is just saying whether or not there are any projects associated to it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now just so we're not here keying in all the information, and that's going to lead into the next piece. The next piece here is if you accidentally created a second company when you already had one created. So what I had intentionally done was created this Coors Brewing, knowing that we actually already had Coors set up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this Coors Brewing Company with Coors here. And the benefit here, so I just clicked on the first one, input Coors Brewing and merge to. We're going to pick Coors. Before I do that, let's review how this is going to work. So we're about to merge Coors Brewing to another client. After you submit this request, from the merge from field will cease to exist. So if we had filled out all the address information here, it would no longer be there. It would just use what had been input on this merge to client. The things that will be kept are any contacts that we might have created on this other company, any activities or opportunities, all of that stuff will be copied over. So if you did have maybe the same client contact on both of these companies, you'll end up with a duplicate. So we click, I understand the risk associated with this. The risk associated with this is if you had like specific notes on your Coors Brewing opportunity, those won't be copied over. You'll only keep what's in this one for the merge to. So when I click submit here, it's merging them. It says the merge is complete and just closed our page for us. So I'm going to go back over to the CRM here, and you can see that we just have this Coors company now. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that Coors company here and just touch on a couple of other things that are available within the CRM here. We won't really go into detail, but you can see that this is the one that we wanted to keep, even though I've left the stuff blank for everything else. All of the information is populated here that was originally on this company for the merge to side of things. So up here at the top, we've got our projects, so we can see any projects that are associated to this client company. We can see any sales activities here, the client contacts, the opportunities, your opportunities and projects, these two sub-tabs within the company. Of course, all of those opportunities can be found here, and similarly with the projects. But if you ever just want to know what it is within the same company, you can also come here and it'll be cut by that. The next one here is we have any documents. So I've just got a couple of pictures and PDFs here. You can upload anything that you might want to reference when it comes to this company, like if they, I don't know, perhaps provided you an overview of the company when you first started meeting with them or whatever that might be. All of those can be stored here. And then lastly is the logo, and this is really primarily used for the CRM. So if I click back over to the CRM tab, we go over to clients, this has the logo shown right here, and that's what that's used for. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the opportunities and we're going to create a new opportunity. And the way I'm going to do that is with this quick add button. And when I click this, we'll get this pop up and we can say what the opportunity's name is going to be. So we'll say Coors, say 6th floor renovation. And for this client lead, you can just start typing here to find the associated company. So the one we had just merged to was Coors. But before we keep going, I just want to show you another piece of functionality here. You can also create a client or lead here if in case it does not exist. So let's say in this case, it was for the Avalanche. You can see nothing's popping up. It's saying no results found. Click to create new. So if I do that, I've got the company name just as I typed it already, and then the industry here, just from the drop down, I'll just pick other for this one. I can go ahead and do that, and that's going to have created a company in the CRM. Of course, these two pieces of information will be the only thing that's populated, so if you do it from here, you'll want to go into the company info and add the address and all of that stuff as appropriate once you have it. And if you ever clicked on that by accident, no worries. You can always click this trash can icon here to the left and then just reselect the correct company. So for here, the quick create, if you want to go ahead and save it, if you just wanted to purely put in the opportunity name and client, you can go ahead and do that. I do recommend to everyone that we do training for to at least try to put in the order date, and if you can, the rough order of magnitude here for this total cost and total sale. And I got to these additional fields here by just clicking this button in the middle that says more. So I think, when trying to track opportunities, it's really helpful to have roughly what time frame you expect it to come in. So, there's a big difference between something that might come in, say, next month versus sometime late next year. So I'll go ahead and input an estimated order date for this. I'll just put this at the end of January. We'll put in an estimated award date, say at the beginning of January, and you can change your win likelihood here as needed. So you've got 0 to 25, and then it goes up 25% of the time to 76 to 100. I'll just leave this at 0 to 25. Our identified date here is pre-populated. The project number, if you already have one, you can go ahead and input that here. Most people use the project number to relate back to either their accounting system, and some people also do that if they've got a DIRT opportunity number that they've already been tracking. The next set of things here are the key roles. So we've got our opportunity owner. That's always going to default populate to whoever created the opportunity. The next is the lead designer and lead project manager. These are just drop downs, and you can pick from anyone who is an internal employee. And so I've mentioned that I always recommend people try to at least put in the order date as well as the total cost and sell, just so you've got an order of magnitude. So, it's not, in my opinion, so important that this is, to the dollar correct at this point, but it's more to say like, oh yeah, this opportunity is going to be potentially $150,000, or it's just going to be $25,000, so that when you look back at your list of opportunities, what it is that you're looking at. So for this one, we'll say it's a relatively small opportunity. We'll say it's 20K, and the sell would be 25. So we've got a couple of different options, or 3 different options down here at the bottom. The first is the save and close. The next is save and open opportunity. That's the one I'll use. This will take us to that opportunity and the opportunity information page, so we can fill out more information if we need to. And then the last is the save and open company information. So that's going to take you back to the company information page that we had started on within the CRM tab. So I'll go ahead and click this, and this is going to bring us to our opportunity information. So you can see we've got our opportunity name pre-populated here, and we've also got the address here. And this is going to pull from the CRM. So you can see that the end user information just matches this. This is how it's going to be in the CRM. But then you can change this on the opportunity info page to be specific to where this job site is going to be located. So let's just say it's just down the road at 67 Rocky Mountain Road, and it's going to be the headquarters building 2. So you fill out your address, update that as needed. If you need to add a description for your opportunity, you can do that here. What I'm going to do for this stuff is just take it section by section to go through all of the fields within the opportunity information page. So the last one for this upper quadrant is that project number. As I mentioned, this is really an internal number for you to use however is most helpful for you. Moving on to the right half of this top section is we've got the opportunity status. So there's several different statuses that you can use while it is in the opportunity stage. So you've got identified, that's really the base status. That's what everything when it's created will start as. You can move it to qualify. That's intended to be once you've discussed it internally and decided that, yes, that's something that we want to pursue. And then proposed means that you have put together a quote. It may or may not be the final quote, but you've gotten something to the client. The next is pending. So that's just awaiting the final decision between you and whoever else is bidding on the project. And then, of course, we've got one project. This will let you convert it into a project once you select that. Lost, inactive, and canceled. And the reason we've got the differentiation between inactive and canceled is canceled. The expectation for this is that the project is not going to happen and it's been officially canceled, versus inactive means, maybe it's just pushed down the road. The client's not provided us any update, but it hasn't officially been canceled. So I'll go ahead and leave this one in the identified stage. The next field here is for your DIRT opportunity number. So my understanding is that on the DIRT side of things, when you provide a forecast, you also get a number from there. So you're able to input that here to keep track of it. The next field here is for the location, and this is going to default based on what location you have set up in your My Account page. So I'll go ahead and click this My Account page so you can see where it's coming from. This field here in the middle, if you haven't set something specifically, it will just default to your headquarters. So if you have multiple locations within your company, you can select from them here. If you just have one, the headquarters is what you should be seeing. So I'll go and leave mine as San Antonio. And then we have several different dates that are relevant for any given opportunity. We have the identified date, and that'll just always be when you've created the opportunity. And then your estimated award and estimated order date are going to be from what you populate. Of course, the estimated order date is going to be what's relevant to the DIRT side of things as far as when you'd be placing the order with them. You do also have the ability here to select a date from your schedule over here if you set up something, set up a schedule here, and that way you can keep those two in sync. The next thing I'm going to cover is this set of 4 dropdowns. So you've got the win likelihood, we've got the DIRT forecast, and the project probability. And that, when I first saw it, seemed a bit redundant to me. It seemed like we had 3 things really just to project out the likelihood that this opportunity would be won. So let me differentiate a little bit between each one of these. The win likelihood is broken down into quarters, and the DIRT forecast is just going to match to exactly how DIRT has it. And I think for yourself internally, there's a big difference between something that's 0 to 25% and potentially as high as 69%. So that's broken down for you that way. That's really the only differentiation between those two is the bucketing. And then this project probability is what is the overall likelihood of this project happening in general. And this is more from the client's perspective. Is this something that is high? This is a must do for them and it's going to happen in the next 3 months no matter what. Medium, is this something that they'd like to do? Maybe they've got it budgeted, but there's a couple of competing factors. Or if it's low, it's just a pie in the sky dream for the client. You can track it that way. I think it helps add a lot of context to what sort of opportunity you're looking at. And then the contract type here is a commercial, and then we've got a long list of different government contracts that you can select from as needed. So just above this, we've got a couple of other things. We've got the project type. It's going to default to DIRT because that's what most partners use this application and tracking for, but you can also mark this as other. Once you get to the project stage, there'll be a couple of things that won't be available to you if you mark it as other, like deficiencies. Inbound opportunities, since I think these are relatively rare, it is by default marked no, but if you do have someone that's come to you versus going out and seeking the opportunity, you can track that here. So an inbound opportunity would be someone calling you, and you'd mark that to yes. For no, that means that you've gone out and found that opportunity. A couple more sections down here. We've got the estimated DIRT SFN details. These are pulling through as 0 because we just created this opportunity. Once you have a quote and it's itemized with your DIRT products, you can always see what those SFNs are here from this page as well without having to go into the individual quote. The opportunity team, again, that's those key roles. That's the same from that quick add page. Next, if you ever accidentally pick the wrong client, you can always change it here. So if this really should have been for a different client, all we have to do is just double click the correct one here and select it. I'm not going to change it because this one does have the correct client. Nextly, we've got the partner information. That's just going to pull through. That's going to be pulling from your My Company page, and this really should be the same for the vast majority of projects. And then you can also select an architect or general contractor at this point for your opportunity. So if you already know that information, you can go ahead and enter it here. Since these things are required to submit an order to DIRT, once you have it, there's no reason to have to dig that information up later. So whatever you pick here will flow through to your project and subsequently your order as well. So once you have an input here, you really never have to input it again. And this is just using that type add widget again. So we can just say, start typing. I say it's for architect 1. And then over here, once I start typing, we can see general contractor. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and click save. So now that all of our stuff is saved here, that is an important note. This is not automatically saving as you go through. So just make sure to click that save button once you've made some updates that you want to keep within here. Okay. So we covered the quick add fields, we covered create a new company, and we covered the information fields. So the next thing we'll do is we'll take a look at creating an RFQ, and then also we'll take a look at the design time and files after that. So within an opportunity, we've got a bunch of different tabs in here for various functionality. We've got the quotes where you can create your quote, itemize your quote with dirt products for your forecast, delivery tickets, design, which we'll touch on in a second. You can create opportunity tasks. You can create a request for information or request for quote. You can also create a schedule. We know that some general contractors, if you're working through one of them, will require a schedule to be built out in order to bid on it. So you can create that here as needed. Your sales activities, this overlaps with the CRM. So if you've got sales activities related to this specific opportunity, you can create those here. And then these contacts are going to pull from your CRM contacts, and you can always create new ones here as well. So I just wanted to touch on a high level what functionality is available to you, but let's take a look in a little bit more depth at the RFQ. So we don't have any created here. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new one. One handy trick when working within Kinetic is you can always double click this top gray bar to go ahead and maximize this page, which I didn't know about for a long time, but I think it's pretty useful if you need it. So we'll take this top to bottom. We'll start with the RFQ number. So that's going to be automatically populated as you create them. That'll just automatically update. Created by is, I think, pretty self-explanatory. And then we also have two statuses, just open or closed. Once you receive your quote back from them, you can mark it as closed. And then we've got our title here, which pre-populates. So it's RFQ alert, KPMIC cores for the 6th floor renovation. You can relabel that as you see fit, of course. We've got the created date, which again is pre-populated. And then this next one is a required field. You can see it's marked here in red. So we'll mark the required by, let's say that we need the quote back before Thanksgiving. So we'll mark it for the 21st. The returned, once you do hear a response from your vendor that you're requesting a quote from, you can enter in the date here. And then we've got the company that you want to are requesting a quote from. So we'll just mark that as our install vendor. We'll say that this request for quote is going to be for an installation on this opportunity because we are going to subcontract it out versus doing it internally. The assign to, you can email your quotes or your request for quote directly from Kinetic if you need to. The way you do that is just make sure you've got the correct people assigned here. So you've got your internal people here, and if you're trying to email it directly to your vendor, you can add them from this add from vendors button as well. So let me go ahead and go to the bottom section. I'm just going to go ahead and expand all 4 of these sections. For the scope here, you can see that it's already partially pre-populated. We've got a template that's in here. And the way you manage this template is going to be from the My Company page. So that's going to be from up here in this building icon, or what a lot of people refer to as the waffle. That's going to contain your master template. And then once you create an individual RFQ, this RFQ is a one-off. Anything you change here will be specific to this RFQ. So we can edit this as needed and put all of our specifications for what we're looking for a quote from. We can add our request, all of the specifics that need to go in there, and then, of course, the specifications that they're going to have to address for here as well. And then this last section is really intended for once you get your quote back. So you can say, all right, we got our quote back, and what is the delivery cost? What is the installation cost, services, fees, etc. And the handy thing about this is once you get your quote back, and you can track this, we'll just input a number, just say $10,000. Once you save it, you can always come back here and see, why did we go with this vendor versus another? And it's like, oh, okay. The total was 10,000 versus the other one was 12,000. So we went with the one that gave us a better price on it. And for this related documents, you can, of course, include if they responded via email or provided you something, you can go ahead and store that here. I'm just going to put a picture in, but you can certainly put in an email as well. So a couple of other things that I want to touch on for RFQs. You also have this ability to duplicate an RFQ. So once you put in all of your specifications, I think most of the time when you're sending out a request for quote, it's because you're going to send it out to a couple of different vendors so that you can get a competitive bid on it. So we can duplicate this RFQ. You can see the company is one of the few things that won't automatically pre-populate. So we'll just say copy of, we can get rid of that. And we can pick a new company here. We'll just say this is for a new vendor. We can add the appropriate people for the assigned to. It'll copy over your internal, but it won't copy over your vendor, just so you're not accidentally copying them on the wrong RFQ. And then once you get back from this one, I'm just going to go ahead and update this value. We'll say this is the $12,000 one. I'll click save. We can see that we've got both of our RFQs back here, and we can see the total value for each one of these. So install vendor ended up winning this bid because they quoted us a lower value. One other thing is just might as well create this Word document for you so that we can see what the actual RFQ document looks like. So up here, the header information is all coming from your partner information. Next, we've got the opportunity name, when the estimated order date is, the location of the opportunity, and then we've got all of our RFQ specific information. So everything from the RFQ number, the required by date, who it's being sent to, the RFQ title, who it's assigned to, the scope, and that's everything that was coming from our standard template, and then also the specifications down here as well. So I think, if you're doing this in an offline process, this is one way to help standardize it for yourself and also a way to keep track of it, because I think one of the benefits to Kinetic is that it becomes really your single source for all of your opportunity or project information, so that, anyone who is working on this opportunity or project can always come back to the system and have access to all the things they need. In my experience, it's pretty easy for things to, get siloed or get lost because it's in so-and-so's email or what have you. So that brings us to the last part of our prepared section, and that's going to be for design time and files, and this will just take a couple of minutes, so we should have plenty of time after this for any questions related to other aspects of the application. So I'm going to go here to the design tab, and we've got two sections here. So the top one is for our design hours, and the bottom is for the design files. The first thing I'll do is I'm just going to upload a few files here. You can click on the thing, or I can drag and drop directly onto this, or I can click the new button. It's really up to you. But so I uploaded a few files here, and the only thing that I really want to point out within the design files is that you can also include notes on this. So you can say maybe this one is version 1, this other file is version 2. So if there's any context that you need to provide to other team members who might be looking at the files you have stored here, you can pass that along within that notes section. And of course, this is something that's shared. The limit on the file size is really, really high. So this is a place where you can store those ICE files or really anything else that you need to up here, and just give everyone access to it who needs it. This top section is going to be for your hours. So we know that it's variable whether or not you pass through, say, design hours, if they're billable or not billable. But this is a way where you can just easily capture hours if you do need to build those through. So your designer here, it just again uses that type ahead widget. So as I start typing, I can pick from anyone who is on my opportunity team, which is really just internal people. If there's an assistant designer that needs to be listed, you can just manually type them out here. And then we've got our design date. Let's say that these hours were actually from Friday and I'm just catching up on NDRAM. I'll switch that to Friday. If I need a description here, like if there's like a requirement to say I need to show what I was working on. So like this was the scope of work for the sixth floor architecture, which includes such and such and such. You can include all of that here. And then of course we have a space for the hours. We'll say it was a full day of hours, so 8 hours, and that the hourly rate was 125 and for a total of 1,000. So you can come in here, you can add as many hours as you need, and then you can also export it out. So once you export it, that'll pull all of the hours that you have listed down here, and it'll make it easy for someone to put together an invoice, or if you just need to pass along that information, you can do it that way. The last note on design hours is that you also have the option to pull from all of your different opportunities or all of your different projects, all of the hours, and that's found in the My Company page here as well. And that's going to be under this design time tab. So this is showing us all of the hours across all of the opportunities and projects within this training environment here. And I can pull for a specific set of time just by using this, this design date set of parameters. So if I just want to pull something for November, I can use those to just pull that specific time period. And I mentioned the RFQ templates are also pulled from here. So this is, again, just your master template. And if you need to make changes to the master, which will apply on all of your RFQs going forwards, this is where you would do that. But so with that said, that brings us to the end of the prepared portion. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and I'll hang on to go through anything else.